Good evening. Let's begin the meeting of the Texas Southmost College Board District. Board of Trustees, President, we have Ms. Rosemary Breedlove, Dr. Roberto Robles, Mr. Roman Dino Esparza. Other trustees are still running a little bit late. And we have Dr. Julia Garcia. And the first item, I believe, is presentation?
Yes.
By Dr. Garcia.
It's my great pleasure to welcome tonight the UTB-TSC chess team, and to introduce them is Dr. Hilda Silva, please, our Vice President for Student Affairs.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, board members, President Garcia. 2006 was a wonderful year for our chess team. They not only came in one state for the second time in a row, they came in second national, second to UT Dallas. And during the Christmas break, we decided the team had deserved the opportunity to compete at the Pan American Chess Games. This was the first time ever, and the Pan American Games are known as the most prestigious chess tournament, or really is known the World Series of Chess. So we thought we should try. They deserve the opportunity to try. Never competed against Yale and Harvard and Maryland and folks like that. So we left on December the 26th, early in the morning, which was a feat in itself. And then we stayed over there till the 31st. And they had a wonderful, wonderful tournament. We're very proud of their accomplishments. So we wanted an opportunity to introduce them to you, to acknowledge their accomplishments, and certainly our coach, Grandmaster Gilberto Hernandez as well, who joined the team, as well as Rusty Harwood, who is our program director for chess. We all had a grand time, but what was more special is the opportunity the students had to interact with the other colleges and universities. And just to see them, to me, it was just amazing. One of the matches was 5.5 hours. Wow. I can't imagine anything like that. So just that opportunity. So please, I would like to introduce, representing the chess team was at the games was Nelly Estrada. Nelly? Daniel Fernandez. Arturo Gracia. Javier Alejandro Nieto. Eric Mayorino. And I would like to call on Grandmaster Gilberto Hernandez. And Russell, and of course, Russell Harwood. Our team finished the 6-round tournament tied for 7th place with Yale and Harvard, wow, ending up in 8th place due to some tiebreakers out of 24 teams. So we're very, very proud. Coming in first was UT Dallas, came in first and second. Third was Maryland. Fourth was Miami-Dade. Fifth was Universidad Católica del Perú. Sixth, Duke. Seventh, Yale. Eighth, UTB. Ninth, Harvard. 10th, Toronto.
Up there.
to take a picture with our board? That's okay?
Please,
Don't be shy now.
You can't miss him in this orange. They wore their team shirts, orange one day, blue one day, white one day. They were just wonderful.
Well, good afternoon again, everyone. Thank you for having us here today and for awarding us this nice recognition and this special day. Certainly, I'd like to thank Dr. Joey Garcia, our president, for her continued support, the Board of Trustees. Certainly, Dr. Hilda Silva, Vince Luis, Russell Harwood, the director of the chess program, everyone for making it possible for us to compete in this special tournament. It was, in my experience, the best tournament I've ever been involved in. I'm very proud to say that. It was a team effort in the entire sense of the word. Just to give you an idea, we played, first of all, very long games, but we would play as a team. Basically, we would play all in one table, UTB members, for boards 1 through 4th, against another team, say Miami-Dade, and we would sit alongside each other, facing our opponents, and so that was an incredible feeling, amazing. So, well, thank you once again, and I guarantee next year, even if I'm not here, the team will definitely be placing the top 4. It's right.
It's like
I like the fighting words. Dr. Robles?
No, it's just like Joe Namath and saying that he's going to guarantee that the Jets are going to win.
Congratulations very much.
Eric has been, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, ma'am.
Eric was a member of the original chess team that started out here at UTB and has nurtured his team members and has guided us in first the formation of a chess team and chess as an activity on this campus. And so, Eric, personally, I'm very grateful to you for teaching us so much along the way. And then to all of the other young men and women, and of course to our chess master and to our director, Rusty. It just would not have been possible with all that you all have done. Without that, it just would not have been. We have just begun down this road, and you have taken it just much further than any of us would have imagined. And if you think I talked about chess before, can you imagine now? It sends such a strong signal to the country about the potential of all of our students and of South Texas. And so thank you for allowing us the luxury and the pleasure of being able to show you off. Muchísimas gracias. I have another announcement to make, and that is about the notion of sustained leadership. We've been talking on this campus now for about a year about how we need to prepare next generation leaders, and so one of the initiatives was to start a faculty fellows program, administrative fellows program. Dr. David Pearson was the first professor chosen to participate in that program. He was mentored by Dr. Wayne Moore this last fall semester. He went to all of the meetings. He listened, he learned, he participated, and then when Dr. Moore decided to go back to teaching and his great love in English literature, Dr. Pearson chose to remain in that position. We are so proud that he has done that. For those of you who do not know David, he has been with our university now for many years now. Is it 10? 10 years. 10 years, that's what I thought it was. And has been an innovator in a variety of different ways. Society Under Fire has been his program. He started, he took a radio show that was of one ilk and morphed it into an extraordinary, very provocative presentation with speakers from all over the country. He has been the president of the Academic Senate. He helped us in envisioning what kind of a biliteracy program we could have on campus, and many, many other things. But all of that now, education, learning experience, will be focused on the work of this vice presidency. And so I want to publicly welcome Dr. Pearson to his new position, thank Dr. Moore for once again stepping back into the fray and helping us invaluably during this last semester, and present him to everybody now more formally. Welcome.
Chairman, members of the board, and Dr. Garcia, I'd also like to give my thanks publicly to Dr. Wayne Moore for the mentorship that he's provided. And I don't think he told me all of the intricacies of the job, because I think there are too many to tell. And they didn't tell me all of the work it would be required by the position, although I think after a while I began to suspect that. But I want to thank the members of the board and the members of the administration for giving me this opportunity to serve the board, to serve this remarkable institution, and most importantly, to serve the students in yet another capacity here at UTB-TSC. So thank you very much, and it's wonderful to be on board.
Dr. Moore, do you want to say something?
Come on, Wayne.
One more time.
One more time.
Play it again.
I'm still here. I'm still working. And I will be of service in any way that Dr. Garcia wishes. And I enjoyed the short time back in the office. And I'm looking forward. I'm going to plug a program. We're doing a study abroad program in Ireland, in Argentina, in Peru. So anybody who wants to go on those trips and study, we'd love to have you, and I'd love to have you in my class. But I'm glad for David to take over. I think David will do a great job. I've been very impressed with his work this past semester, and how quick he's taken over, how quick he's learned everything, and I think he'll do a fine job for the university. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Wayne.
Thank you, Wayne.
I'd like to introduce Dr. Dameron to introduce someone himself.
Chairman Gonzalez, members of the board, President Garcia, it's my pleasure to introduce someone who is no stranger to this board or this institution. Dr. Peter Gowenda has been appointed now the acting dean of the College of Science, Mathematics, and Technology, as well as the acting dean of the College of General Studies. Dr. Gowenda has served this institution with distinction for many years, and starting in 1981, when he first began teaching at TSC, on through a long association teaching with Pan American University at Brownsville, and then with a partnership in 1991, he took on the responsibilities that all of us who entered into the partnership have continued with. Over those years, in addition to being one of our most stimulating and popular faculty members, he has served with distinction in a number of administrative positions, including Assistant to the President, Director of Institutional Research and Planning, and then in the partnership era, he served as interim VPAA, as well as the Vice President for Business Affairs for the latter for a 5-year period of time. Currently, he has been overseeing the BASS and BAT programs that he was instrumental in creating for this, not only for this university, but for this state. And he has also been participating in ongoing grants. He will continue to coordinate BAT programs, several of which are in the College of Science, Math, and Technology. And he, as a faculty member in his incarnation at UT Pan American Brownsville, he played a key role in developing majors in biology, physics, and mathematics, the majors that we now have in the College of Science, Mathematics, and Technology. Dr. Gowenda received his bachelor's degree from the University of Maryland, his master's from Troy State University, and then after coming to South Texas and beginning his career here, he received his doctorate in education from the University of Houston. So I would like to invite my good friend and colleague, Peter Gowenda, to say a few words.
Good evening. And I can actually say welcome back to me or to you because I've been here quite many years. And I have very much enjoyed it in the previous positions, and I know I will enjoy it in this position also. I've mentioned several times I wasn't born in Brownsville, but I know I was born for Brownsville, and you will not get rid of me. I have the pleasure of introducing one of our professors, one of now my professors in the SMT, Frederick A. Genet. Now, the first day when I took over my job, I was looking for him and I saw several students, and so I asked for him as Professor Genet, and thinking that one of the older students will come forward, but it was one of the younger ones who stepped forward, that it was him. So he blended in fairly well with his students. He's assistant professor in the Physics and Astronomy department of the College of Science, Mathematics, and Technology since 2004. He's a graduate of MIT, where he worked at the Center for Space Research. He has a doctorate from CIT, the California Institute of Technology, and did his postdoctoral studies at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory. What I did not have in the handout that you might get a little bit later is that he had an almost 2-year stint as senior research scientist with Schlumberger Oilfield Services, the main competitor of Halliburton. And maybe it was him who prevented his company from not going to Iraq and saved them from losing face and whatever. Now, Dr. Genet has a long list of publications in very prestigious journals such as Astrophysical Journal and Nature. He has been invited as speaker about pulsar timing and gravitational wave detection to such institutions as Shanghai Observatory, Nanyang University, Peking University, Australia Telescope National Facility, and others. Wanting to involve students, Dr. Genet applied for and received a grant from the National Science Foundation for over $600,000 to establish a remote command center in our Science and Engineering Technology building to control via internet the world's largest single-dish radio telescope, which is located in Puerto Rico in the Arecibo Observatory. The remote command center controls that telescope from a distance. Thus, students who are actually involved in the research of, or I should actually say in the search for so-called pulsars, don't have to be in Puerto Rico. The just mentioned pulsars will aid the gravitational wave studies that are conducted at UTB-TSC under Dr. Genet's leadership. But here's Dr. Genet to provide you with details about the exciting venture.
Well, thank you very much for that wonderful introduction. And of course, it is an honor to be here to be able to present this work to all of you. Well, basically what we're doing is we're bringing the world's largest radio telescope to Brownsville, which is a pretty amazing thing. Let me just quickly sort of go about this thing that we call the ARC program. So ARC stands for the Arecibo Remote Command Center, and that's what we're building here. But in a nutshell, it is a world-class research program. All right, so we throw this word around, world-class. What do we mean by world-class? Well, we mean that the research that we're doing here, and ultimately what the students are doing here, is judged by a community of scholars and researchers around the world. It's not just something that is taking place in Brownsville. It's not just something that's taking place in Texas or the United States. It is something that is judged by and affects the thinking of scholars all around the world. And the other beautiful thing about it is we get to have our students, which many of them happen to be sitting right over there. They came to support me in this effort. We get to involve our students in this project, directly in this work. So, just to underline things, we take a world-class facility, the Arecibo 305-meter telescope, which of course I'll talk more about that, and we're going to be using it to search for these objects called radio pulsars, which have influenced our understanding of the galaxy and understanding of the universe in many different ways. And we're going to bring our students along and train them up to be involved in this, in all of this wonderful science that we're doing here. So let me take a moment to congratulate all of you guys. I'm a firm believer in the fact, I will call it, that it's the leadership that sets the tone of an organization. It's the leadership that basically makes things happen. And whatever you guys see, your visions, that's what enables us to do what we want to have here. And so I want to thank you guys for, one, creating an academic environment which has allowed for the creation of our Center for Gravitational Wave Astronomy, which I believe several people have come up here and spoken to you about. And also for the attainment of our first National Science Foundation Career Award. And that's something I just want to quickly discuss a little bit. The National Science Foundation is a government organization that is responsible for about $6 billion. And it funds about 20% of the basic research that happens in the United States. And it turns out that the National Science Foundation Career Award is the most prestigious award that this institution gives to early faculty. Now that you can all find on their website at www.nsf.gov. You go there, that's what they say about them. But it's one thing to say something, it's one thing for the organization to say something about what it offers. It's another thing for other organizations to say something about that. And so I want to bring your attention to the American Astronomical Society. This is the largest group of professional astronomers and astrophysics in the United States. I think it might even be in the world, but that I'm not exactly sure about. But basically, it's a community of scientists from all over the world. There is, basically you have your Harvard, MIT, Caltech, Berkeley, all of these people are involved in this organization. And they had a newsletter. Basically, this was December 2006, just last year. And this newsletter basically goes over all the things that are happening in the community of the American Astronomical Society. And in one of the pages, let's see if I get my pointer here, but essentially in that document, they have this section, Honored Elsewhere. Bring your attention to this paragraph, the 2006 Nobel Prize. NASA Goddard is mentioned there. The interesting thing is just before that paragraph, we're listed as obtaining the prestigious NSF Career Grant. So right there, within the same breath, UTB-TSC is mentioned with NASA Goddard, and the NSF Career Grant is mentioned with the Nobel Prize. Wow. So that gives you an idea of the caliber that we're talking about here. And now we move a little bit onto the science. Well, there's the world's largest radio telescope in the world. World's largest radio telescope in the world. Well, excuse me for my redundancy. Everyone always kids me that I like to say world's largest and world's class and various things like that. You look at this and you think football field. But actually, you can fit 10 football fields in this thing. Wow. That's 305 meters across,
So basically 3 football fields across. In an area, it's 10 football fields. This thing is suspended about 1,000 feet above the center of this dish. This dome, which houses many of the primary receivers, is about 10 stories tall. It's basically a small city building. This whole thing is a small city block suspended above this telescope. You probably have seen this before. It's been featured in movies like GoldenEye and Contact. Matter of fact, I lost all my respect for Pierce Brosnan as James Bond. He was the James Bond that was in this one. And there's a catwalk that you walk across that takes you from here over to this suspended platform. And whenever I go observing and stuff, I always have to walk across this thing for various reasons. Well, maybe not have to, but you know, when you're there, you got to do it, right? So the thing is, Brosnan wouldn't. He wouldn't do it. He had a stunt double walk across this platform. So, well, the joke is at Arecibo is that you only fall once. So, just to now talk about some of the major accomplishments that have occurred here. First off, the first planets orbiting another star other than our sun were discovered using the Arecibo radio telescope. And as a matter of fact, they were discovered using radio pulsars. The other important thing is the first binary pulsar system was discovered. Basically, this is a pulsar that's orbiting another exotic star known as a neutron star. And this system together provided the first experimental evidence for gravitational waves. This won a Nobel Prize in 1994. And this led to the enormous growth in gravitational wave astronomy. It was this discovery and these observations that basically said, hey, wait a minute, perhaps Einstein's theories are actually correct. This was the first experimental evidence of it. And so now this is what led the world to start building all of these observatories, LIGO, LISA, and whatnot, and also was the impotence for our own gravitational wave, a Center for Gravitational Wave Astronomy here at UTB. So, that's Arecibo, some of the major accomplishments, and now, of course, we talk about our command center. We're building the Arecibo Remote Command Center. This is a fully functional room, if you will. It's picture something like Houston control, mission control, that sort of thing. Picture the bridge of the Enterprise. We're going to have, we are capable of controlling, so when we hit point on our computer screens, the equipment at Arecibo suddenly starts to move and point to the particular source that we're talking about. And here we have various pictures, and matter of fact, several of these students are in the room right now, of essentially our first set of observations with this room, which happened about 2 weeks ago. As you can see right now, we're working in sort of bare bones operation. We've got a screen set up, which gives you a real-time view of the Arecibo facility. We only have one webcam there at the moment, which gives you the control room. Eventually, we'll have one which gives you the outside facility as well. And we have a couple of big screens and whatnot, which is pretty good. But this is our vision for what we want the room to look like. As I said, picture something like Houston Control or the bridge of the Enterprise. Basically, this is the command and control center. And here we have the big projection screens. We have offices back here. We have a computer. This is where the supercomputer will be housed. This is basically workstations and computers for about 9 to 15 students, and a conference center and whatnot. I believe also there is a handout that sort of gives these, shows these plans. And just for interest, let's see if I can actually do this while in front of the entire board. But in a blatant use of technology, we can see what it actually looks like to be inside the room. Now I got to switch to walk, and once I'm walking, I can pull back, and this gives you an idea of what it would be like to walk inside the command and control facility of the Arecibo Remote Command Center. The hope is, of course, is that these are windows into a conference room, and out here are windows into the hallway. This is so when students walk by, they can look in and they can see this, and they say, hey, what is that? What's going on over here? And hopefully attract them and bring them into the program. So, now let's see. That's basically what the ARC is all about. Now, I want to show you the ARC team.
We have about 15 high school students, both juniors and seniors. Let's see, I think several of them managed to show up here, so why don't you guys stand up? I'm going to embarrass them a little bit. Excellent. We have 3 undergraduate students. Let's see, I believe Vilma, you managed, very good. Thank you very much for showing up. Let's see, 2 graduate students, Kevin Stovall and KJ Lee. Thank you. Let's see. Kevin is from Angelo State. I hope I got that right. He is a master's student with the center, and he is basically, well, you've seen in many of the pictures, he's been diving in and actually getting a lot of the data analysis done for the ARC program. KJ Lee is a doctoral student that I'm advising. He is a doctoral student through our Center for Gravitational Wave Astronomy, Peking University joint degree program, where basically I am co-supervising him, and he will be getting his PhD from the Peking University. Now we have these education specialists. I want to give a special thanks to Andy Miller. He's at Gladys Porter High School, and he is essentially the director of the high school component of the ARC project. He's basically the person that organizes all the high school students and various other organizational things. So I would basically not be able to do this without his help. So Andy, could you please stand up? I want to give you a let's see. Other things are, I also want to mention Betsy Price. She is someone, she's not on the ARC team, but she was instrumental in writing the grant and helping me write the grant for the NSF. She has an enormous skill and ability in writing proposals, and sort of she organized the initial team writing plans, planned out the proposal, organized the teams so that we could actually get this done. I had no clue how to actually write a proposal until speaking to her. So I would definitely want to say that her skills have been invaluable to me and to other people that she has worked with. Let's see. I'd like to mention, of course, the ARC meetings every Monday night at 7 o'clock, which I would like to invite everyone here to join. These are meetings where we go through the science related to the ARC project, and we talk about scheduling for the telescope and various things along those lines. Just to show a bunch of pictures, we have students give presentations. We have researchers present work, and the like. So, that leads me quickly to our accomplishments so far. As I mentioned, the AAS, it's the largest group of professional astronomers in the United States. And we brought a group of our ARC scientists to that, to the AAS. We all presented in one form or another, either talks or posters. I want to point out we have Sam Rodarte. He's a junior at Gladys Porter. He's 16 years old. He was the youngest person to present actual research at the AAS. This got the attention of Astronomy magazine, which he was interviewed in, and so was the scientist Willem Van Straten, who was co-supervising him at the time. So anyway, he's right there. Please stand up. And Rosina Miller. Rosina Miller has been with the project almost since its beginning, and she has been working on a research project with the group. This is her presenting also at the AAS. Her work has been awarded several awards, both at the state level, well actually I say the regional level, the state level, as well as she was a semifinalist in the National Siemens Westinghouse Science Talent Competition, which is basically one of the largest and most famous science talent searches for high school students in the United States. And Rosina happens to be sitting right over there. If I could get her to stand up as well. So, one last thing I want to conclude with. Again, I pointed out that we have this student, KJ Lee, who is this doctoral student visiting us from China. So the CGWA is developing strong ties with China. We have agreements with Peking University, Nanjing University, and the Beijing Astronomical Observatory. We're getting students of theirs to come over and work with us. Basically, the Chinese scientists know that gravitational wave astronomy is going to be an important part of astronomy. It's going to be an important tool for understanding the universe. And they recognize that they want to develop a strength in it. And they recognize that the Center for Gravitational Wave Astronomy is a leader in that, in gravitational waves, in that field. And so they have developed these ties with us so that we can basically work with them to develop their expertise. And one of the things we do is we have a summer school in gravitational wave astronomy. It's held every year. This was the first one. This is at Nanjing University, and this is 70 of the top students in China that worked with us for 2 weeks in Nanjing. This summer, we're going to be having another one. It's going to be in the southwest of China, near the border of Tibet. And again, we hope to have between 70 and 140 of China's best students. And 5 members of the CGWA happen to be sitting, or 5 or 6 members, 5 members happen to be sitting right in the front row. So, with that, I know we all want to continue with other business in the board meeting. I would just want to thank you all again for allowing us to have this wonderful Center for Gravitational Wave Astronomy and allowing us setting the tone so that we could have things like the NSF Career Grant here. We're now known internationally as a world-class institution. And with that, I just want to say, I guess, give my vision, which is essentially a vision that I know working with the people here is a vision that we all share, but maybe put in a slightly different context. We have MIT on the East Coast, we have Caltech on the West Coast, and now we have UTB on the South Coast.
Dr. Joy, I can't tell you how impressed I am with this program. And you talk about world-class telescopes and world-class academics. You're bringing us a world-class university to this area with your expertise, and I thank you for that, and the students and the faculty that's involved in this project. It's just amazing that we can do this in Brownsville, Texas. And I know that the rest of the board members feel the same way, and we are so fortunate to have you on our campus, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk before all of you.
I also want to thank Dr. Genet for the presentation and of course, all of the members of the physics department and students that are here and faculty from here and from other schools from Porter. I wanted to remind us of a comment that was made a couple of years ago now when we were talking about having a program in gravitational wave astronomy at UT Brownsville. And the question was, why would you do physics in Brownsville? And it was posed by, at the time, a member of the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board. And before we could even answer, a professor from UT Austin answered, because that's where the physicists are. We cannot do this without the physicists. Thank you, dear sir, for being here.
Thank you very much, and at this time we're going to break into executive session. Thank you. Board now will not convene in a regular session. We go to item 2, is consideration of possible action on the contract and resolution for the purchase of Fort Brown VIA-1 Unit 1020 for the price of $37,000. I ask for a motion to approve the contract and resolution.
Motion to approve contract and resolution as presented.
Motion has been made by Mr. Campiano, second by Dr. Robles. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? None. Motion carries. Next, we have a contract and resolution for the purchase of Fort Brown Villa 1, Unit 5009. Purchase price is $45,000. I have a motion. Motion made by Ms. Breedlove and second by Ms. Zimmerman. I can't see that spotlight on my face. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have a contract and resolution for the purchase of Fort Brown Villa 2, Unit 1C, for the price of $35,500. Motion, please. Mr. Oliveira, Ms. Breedlove, seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, none. Motion carries. Next, we have the contract and resolution for the purchase of Fort Brown Villa 2, Unit 2F. The price on that unit is $42,000.
Motion to approve contract resolution as presented.
Motion made by Mr. Campidano, second by Ms.
Second.
Breedlove. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? None. Motion carries. And then we have contract and resolution for the purchase of Fort Brown Villa 2, Unit 3E, for the price of $38,000.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Zimmerman, second by Dr. Robles. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? None. Motion carries.
Can I make a comment? I know we just approved the purchase of 5. They all have different contract amounts, and the reasons for that are they're different sizes, the conditions are different, so it's just that, they're not boilerplate, they're not all the same, but nonetheless, they do represent an important interest to the university, so.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. We now move to item number 3, which is the approval of the minutes of the previous meeting, that being November the 30th, 06, and December 11th, 06. Ask for a motion to approve. Motion been made by Ms. Breedlove. Second by Ms. Zimmerman. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? None. Motion carries. Item 4, speakers to agenda items and public discussion. Do we have anyone there? No speakers. Item 6 is the Business Affairs Partnership Committee report. We have Mr. Campidano who will address that report.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, the Business Affairs Partnership Committee met on the 22nd of January and discussed the following items. The first item that was presented to the committee was consideration and possible action on acceptance of the Texas Southmost College annual financial report for the fiscal year ending August 31st, 2006. Dr. Pearson is going to lead this discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Campidano. As a public institution, Texas Southmost College has held to high standards for the way in which the public's money is managed and accounted for. We're fortunate to have a very competent professional staff in our comptroller's office that ensures that those standards are met. But we don't stop there. For many years, the trustees have directed that the district be audited annually by an outstanding and independent firm. We've completed that process for fiscal year 2006 this past December. It's a process that requires many hours of labor over several months. The importance to the district of these annual financial reviews and audits can't be overstated. Through this process, a professional and independent auditor comes in and looks over every aspect of how the district conducts its business. As a result, the community can be assured that the district's business is being conducted in an above-board manner and in keeping with recognized business standards. This year's financial review and audit were, for the 3rd consecutive year, conducted by the firm of Long Chilton. Mr. Juan Mendoza, the lead auditor, is here this evening representing the firm, and I'd ask that Mr. Mendoza please stand. Thank you, sir. This year's audit report has been submitted, and we're pleased to inform the board that the district has again earned an unqualified opinion. What's more, there were no findings in the audit and no management letter. As required by the coordinating board, the financial statements were distributed in late December. I want to thank Ms. Melba Sanchez, our district comptroller, and her staff for all they do throughout the year that allows us to earn these high marks. I also want to thank Ms. Rosemary Martinez, the Vice President for Business Affairs, and her staff for their support with the annual report. Finally, I want to thank Long Chilton for their thorough and professional review of our finances.
Melba, Juan, any of you want to kind of do quick highlights on how the year ended? I mean, I think it'd be good just to kind of address those points. Bruce Lee.
Sorry.
Each of you.
I thought for sure it'd be classical music.
Sorry. I apologize.
Each of you has included in your packets the annual financial report for the fiscal year 2006. Page 23 highlights the statement of net assets, and I'm just going to very briefly show you where our assets, total assets, went from $103 million to $150 million. A substantial part of this increase due to the bonds that were issued, so that cash is currently sitting in our bank to be used for those projects. Our liabilities also increased by a very similar amount. They went from $47 million to $94 million as a result of the obligations that we now have in relation to those bonds. Total net assets went from $25 million to $42 million. And the next page, which is a statement of revenues, expenses, and changes in net assets. Bottom line, our increase to our net assets was $6.6 million. And that is as a result of an increase in tax collections, an increase in some of the tuition and fees that came in, but that were also passed through to the partnership. That pretty much highlights, on a pretty high level, the financial activity of the district. If there's something in particular, or a question that I can answer for you, I'd be happy to answer that in relation to this report.
I do have a question, Mr. Chairman.
Yes,
I have a
Dr.
question.
Roberts.
How about, is it possible to tell the board what percent of the expected taxes were collected
Yes.
for the district?
In the fiscal year 2006, approximately 93% of the levy was collected. This is slightly lower than the previous year, but you also have to take into consideration the fact that we had a larger levy this year as a result of the debt service piece that was added onto there. So 93% is still a very good number, and it's in line with where we have been in the past.
And because of the levy, we wound up, even though it was a little bit less, it wound up collecting more simply because there was a greater levy, so.
The remaining 7% will ultimately be collected, won't it? Because, with delinquent taxes, and
Yes.
they can seize the property, it'll be sold, and ultimately we'll recover that money. It's just that's all they've recovered at the present time.
A large percentage of that is correct, of that 7% is collected in the following fiscal year. We do not have much that is aged beyond probably the next 2 years, or the past 2 years, I should say. It's, in addition to making that collection, some fees are also collected with that, some penalty and interest that helps kind of make up some of that difference.
And the 7%,
If I may ask, Dr. Go ahead, Dr.
if we were to collect that 7%, what would that represent in dollars?
In dollars, approximately 500,000 or so, 500 to 700,000. Of the receivable that was left over from last year.
But those aren't actual losses, I mean, not yet, until the collection is attempted to...
Right, right.
They can't, if the property's ever sold, you get it.
Yeah, you get it. You'll get it.
The only way you don't is if it exceeds, if the taxes exceed the value of the property, there's a chance, you won't recover, but otherwise it's usually recoverable.
Right.
No, but on our Exhibit 2, which is the operating loss, is that a true loss, or is that just reflects the accounting method that's being used nowadays for institutional accounting?
That is the method that has been prescribed by the coordinating board of presentation of the financials. If you'll note, in the non-operating revenues is included the tax revenues and the state appropriations. So a net operating loss or gain is calculated before those two big-ticket items for the district are considered.
Which is why it appears as a loss, right?
I'm sorry?
Which is why it appears as a loss.
Yes, yes. So it's important to go through the non-operating revenues and expenses as well before deriving at the net loss and gain for the district. But it is a presentation item.
Thank you, ma'am.
No, that's it, thank you.
Yeah, the only other comment I'd make is if you look through there's different schedules in here, and actually you have more historical data, which I think is quite good. And one of the other discussions we had at the committee level is that, the staff put in a great deal of time in presenting these schedules. Is that one of the things, and it'll be a decision, I guess, of the administration of the staff, is whether or not to pursue a CAFR. That is essentially recognition for financial reporting excellence. Comprehensive, I forget what the acronym for CAFR is. But for the future, that might be something to consider, only because it does help you in terms of when you go out into the bond market. It can be a great benefit in terms of the kind of interest rate that you'll get on your bonds, and essentially can reduce the cost. We kind of talked a little bit about how so much work went into preparing this, that maybe the next step might be to be looking at in the next year or two, actually go to try to attain that certificate of reporting excellence. And, we'll be in the bond market again, and we'll be either in the refinance or issuing new bonds. So that's something to keep in mind. But again, that's going to be a staff call. So.
Thank you, Mr. Campirano, for bringing that up. There were 18 schedules that were added to this packet. So if it looks larger than it has in the past few years, that's the reason.
Good statistical information
yes,
in here.
Very good statistical information. I've already been referring back to it for various reasons. So, and it was definitely a great exercise for our office to go through that and learn some of that information. You have history in there up to 10 years for many of these items, so it's been a great exercise, and we look forward to looking into achieving the level of putting together a CAFR, a comprehensive annual financial report.
One other, just kind of echoing Dr. Pearson's comments, I know of no reporting entity in the community with a sizable budget. I mean, I'm talking about, certainly in excess of $50 million. That goes through this process and doesn't even receive a management letter. So I think that's certainly a great effort on behalf of Melba and the staff and the support they get from Rosemary and so forth. So I think that is pretty special. This is like the second or third year that has happened. And like, all you have to do is, watch the other meetings, and there's always something. But in this particular case, I mean, they've got a streak going, and I know they work real hard to keep it. So certainly congratulations to the staff. If there are no other questions, the committee recommends and I move to accept the TSC annual financial report and audit for fiscal year ending August 31st, 2006, as presented.
Motion been made by Mr. Rivera, second report as submitted.
Second.
Second by Dr. Robles. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, none. Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
I know we didn't hear from Mr. Mendoza, but thank you very much, and I'm sure that's the way he likes it. Doesn't have to explain anything, so thank you.
Thank you, Juan. Appreciate it very, very much.
If there's one point I could add to this, also lauding Melba's performance, I should point out to the board that throughout fiscal year 2006, we've also maintained the required fund balance, which is 3 months of operating expenses. The average fund balance throughout the fiscal year was approximately $4.2 million. Thank you, sir.
The second item for consideration by the committee was a consideration and possible action on adoption of resolution granting certain tax exemptions to certain historic sites under the 2007 Heritage Plan. The City of Brownsville Heritage Council is again asking the district support to provide tax exemptions to certain historic sites. The total dollar amount of the tax foregone will be $7,480, which is $2,618 more than last year due to the property valuation increases. The number of exemptions in 2006 was 56, and now there are only 54 exemptions. Mr. Joe Gavito, a Heritage Officer for the City of Brownsville, is here this evening in case any of the board members have any questions or you'd like to say anything, or I'll ask Dr. Pearson if there's anything to address in this item further. Okay. I know at the committee we did have a couple of questions, but it really had to do with just a description of all of the properties that were included in that 54 and that, so I'm sure that got addressed. It wasn't an issue of the project or the amount, it was just the description of the properties. Other than that, the committee recommended and I moved to accept the adoption of resolution granting certain tax exemptions to certain historic sites under the 2007 Heritage Plan as presented.
Motion's been made by Mr. Campiano, second by Mrs. Breedlove. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? None, motion carries.
I would just like to mention that one of the houses that's on that list is the Kreider House. And we're very proud that that's the case.
That concludes the report, Mr.
Thank you,
Chairman.
Mr. Campiano, for the report. Item 7 is the first quarter financial and investment report. Ms. Melba Sanchez, again, will call down.
Before I go into the first financial reports and the investment report, I just wanted to make sure that we recognize Nancy Saldaña, who's the Assistant Comptroller, who reminds me very often that I was gone for 8 months.
That's right.
And I'm sure there were some very long 8 months. The audit and the AFR would not have been possible without her assistance. So I thank her greatly, and I think she deserves much recognition for all the work that she's done in the past 16 years that she's been with us.
Thank you very much, Melba, for reminding us.
Thank you. The financial statements are included in your binders. They are for the first quarter. They are being provided for informational purposes only and do not require any action. These statements are for the fiscal year 2006 and 2007. They cover operations for September, October, and November of 2006. The investment report is also included in your binders. It shows total interest earned for the first quarter of $825,000. This interest is being generated through the district's various checking, savings, and CD accounts with Lone Star National Bank, Texas State Bank, and J.P. Morgan Chase. I'll remind you that the interest also includes the interest being generated on the bond issuances that are in the banks. At this time, I will take any questions you might have regarding the financial statements and the investment report.
Mr. Campiano, you have anything to add?
No? Everything looks in order. I guess just one thing. I mean, the first quarter is typically when you see the majority of your ad valorem tax revenue. I guess just curious how that amount for the first quarter compares to prior year. We've collected roughly, what, on a
Over
percentage
half.
basis, 65%?
Yes,
Okay.
over half. It's about 65% that is correct in the taxes. Is that? Yes, sir. Which looks good because for the most part, you're talking October and November since the tax levy goes out October 1, or tax collections start to take place October 1. Having achieved approximately 65% of that in 2 months is pretty good.
If there are no further questions, then thank you.
Thank you.
Very much. That concludes the report. And so we move on to item number 8. The bond project report will be Ms. Veronica Mendez. Here she is.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez, members of the board, President Garcia. I will take a few minutes to report on the 3 projects that have activity on the construction site. We begin with the Center for Early Childhood Studies. We are preparing the site for the Center for Early Childhood Studies. We began the demolition of the existing structures. I'll wait a minute for the video to begin. This is the structures that were existing there, and we began the demolition. All that asphalt that you see has already been removed as of another update from the video. We anticipate to complete all the cleanup in the next 4 weeks, and you'll see how much debris that causes. So we will be then on schedule with our site ready to continue with the construction.
There's way more sheds on.
Prior to demolition, we had done asbestos abatement and all the environmental cleanup. We protected the trees on the site, so they will be there when we build our Center for Early Childhood Studies.
Wow. When did this take place?
Sir, in the last week.
Last week?
Just about in the last week. Now to the thermal plant at ITEC. What you'll see next is the interior of the thermal plant. The electrical panels have been all upgraded. The chillers are new. We have 2 new chillers, and all of that interior work has been redone. And we have the cooling tower sitting on the parking lot, and it's being reinforced, and you'll see them working on it right now. In the next few weeks, we're going to lift that tower and move it to the roof of the ITEC building, and you'll see the position. There's another tower already there, and it will be screened and ready for the cooling for the ITEC. Then to our rec center project, we continue to make progress, and we have begun drilling piers on the site. And of course, we began on January 15th to drill piers, and the next day it starts raining. So we will continue with the progress if the weather allows. But as you see, the rebar goes in, and then we bring a truck to pour concrete into that. There will be a total of 220 piers for this building, and we have done so far about 66. So this process will continue for the next 6 weeks. That concludes my report. Be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Mendez. Anything?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We now move to Dr. Garcia's report, item number 10.
Thank you. I have several items to report on. Next fall semester, we start accepting our first student in the newest master's degree program that we'll be offering, and it's a master's in music education. It is the only such degree south of San Antonio. And we're very, very proud. It appears that, if you wanted a master's here in music education before you pursued an MAIS, a master's in interdisciplinary studies. And so now that this degree is on our radar screen, we have noticed that students have been switching from the MAIS as their degree of preferred choice, and now to the master's degree in music education. There appear to be already 20 that are interested in pursuing this degree. Also, the coordinating board has given us preliminary planning authority for the master's degree in history, and we're very excited about that. It's time to get that moving and move forward. Congratulations to Dr. Lackey, Dean Cantu, and the faculty in the College of Liberal Arts for the progress on both of these degrees. Thank you very, very much. On January the 13th, on a Saturday, we had over 600 students on campus. They were from all over the valley, and they heard a young researcher from NASA, and from the NASA's Phoenix Mars Lander mission. Her name is Suzanne Young, and this mission is scheduled to be launched this next August. Young was our guest speaker for Orbiters, Landers, and Rovers, a contemporary study of Mars and the future of the Phoenix mission. It was sponsored by our South Texas Engineering, Math, and Science program, which is the acronym for that is called STEMS, that has been led by Javier Garcia for many, many years. It's a program that focuses on elementary, middle, and high school students and trying to spark their interest in science. Young, who is also a professor at Tufts University, was taken by our students. This is the person, Dr. Young, who designed a teacup size apparatus that will be on this mission that will scoop up some of this soil and bring it back for testing later on. So she leaves and writes now to Javier Garcia the following note. I can't thank you enough for bringing me down to your program. This is one of the best, this is without a doubt the best STEMS program that I have participated in. It was a great pleasure to be part of it, and the kids are just so wonderful. So now she talks about one of the kids that was there, and her name was Amber Moya. She's a 5th grader from Rio Hondo, who came to the lecture with a list of prepared questions, all written out on paper, and there was not enough time for her to ask all of her questions. So she handed the scientist her phone number, and said, when you get, could you call me? And so the scientist said, I did. She has my number at Tufts, and she can use it. I would be delighted. I also gave her my email. So if you think that something like that doesn't have impact, extraordinary story. So congratulations to Javier and everybody who participated in that event. We also had a visit this last week by the Dean of the University of Texas School of Law. The School of Law at UT was founded in 1883. It is one of the oldest law schools in the nation, and with an enrollment of 1,400 candidates for the doctorate of jurisprudence, it's also one of the largest. And for the last several years, the School of Law's dean has come down to our campus to encourage students to apply. The interim dean, Stephen Good, came to campus, did the same thing, and we had a full house here in this boardroom. We're very, very excited about continuing opportunities for our students who now begin with a pre-law academy that we began a few years ago, and then are able to get admissions to schools like UT Austin. This morning, we held a press conference that was very, very important. It was called the UTB-TSC Imagine College Program. It will make possible college in an accessible and affordable way for the folks in our region. Let me explain just a couple of things about what Imagine College would mean. Beginning fall of this year, the program will cover all tuition and all fees for first-time, full-time freshman Texas residents with a family income of $25,000 or less. The students will enroll in 15 hours a semester. They must successfully complete 30 hours every year, and they must maintain a minimum of a 2.0 GPA. It is a wonderful partnership in the sense that we are offering free tuition and fees for those students that are Pell eligible, that they will be Pell eligible under this criteria. We will use resources from federal grants, from state grants, and from other scholarships to make up the difference if we need to for each of these students. We expect in our predictions that we would have about 700 students this coming fall that would meet this criteria. Now, the students that were there today were very, very excited. We had two students, one from Lopez and the other one from Porter, and both of them had their mothers there, and it was really quite moving to hear them talk about how their dream of a college education could come true. Bob Shepard was also there, the chairman of the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board and our friend, and he spoke very highly of our efforts in the past and lauded this program as well. As I was leaving the press conference, I was followed by a young lady, and I introduced her later on to Dr. Martin and to Dr. Dameron because I was so impressed with her. She was trying to catch up with me because she wanted to ask me if there was an age requirement or limit to this Imagine College program, and I said no, and I said, may I ask why you would ask, because this is a very young lady. And she said, I wanted to tell my father about it. He's always wanted to go back to school, and he meets this criteria. This young lady is already a student here. She's a junior. She's a chemistry major. She is in our Student Employment Initiative program. She's gotten a job on campus in the admissions office. She knows everything there is to know about admissions. So she is going to now recruit her father to come back to school. You never know how these programs will impact our community. We're very, very proud of all the work that has gone in to make this happen. No telling what the results will finally be, but we want you to spread the word. Imagine College is the name of this program. All first-time, full-time freshmen who are Texas residents and who are Pell eligible can qualify for this program. Their family has an income of $25,000 or less. That's our part of the partnership. Their job is to come, take a full load, 15 hours, and complete 30 in 1 year. and maintain a 2.0 GPA. We're very, very proud of having announced this today, and we ask that you help us continue to spread the word of this program. Today we heard from one of our physicists. Well, I need to tell you about another one and what the company that they keep. You know Dr. Mario Diaz is the founder of the Gravitational Wave Astronomy Center here. But a lot of other people know him too. And most recently, he was on a symposium at the Academy of Medicine, Engineering, and Science of Texas that occurred in Austin. His paper was entitled, Our Present Knowledge of the Universe. I hope he had a long time to talk because that's quite a subject. But on the same panel that Dr. Diaz appeared on were the Nobel laureate from MIT, Dr. Samuel Ting, the NSF director, Dr. Arden Bennett, and Lockheed Martin's retired chairman and CEO, Mr. Norman Augustine. So there's a lot going on in science here, and the word is out nationally, and as we heard earlier, internationally, about the strength of the physics department and of the Gravitational Wave Center. We also have the beginning of our Scorpion baseball team beginning their NAIA 2007 season with a home opener against Viterbo University from Wisconsin. So please join us. This is the first year that our baseball team participates in NAIA. We wish them well. We're going to be watching closely because remember our volleyball team did very well their first year in NAIA. So the pressure is on, and I believe they're ready to perform. We had last night a wonderful biomedical conference, and it was a community outreach conference. One of the things we said was, it won't be enough for us to do research here. It will be imperative that the research be relevant to this community, and beyond that, it's important for us to make sure we use the research to help the community understand the implications of disease. Alzheimer's disease is one of the most debilitating diseases in our community and one of the most common. And our own professor, Dr. Luis Colom, MD, PhD, has been doing research on Alzheimer's, and the trends they're discovering are really very, very disheartening. One of them is that in the Hispanic population, Alzheimer's appears 6 to 7 years earlier than it would in the non-Hispanic population. And the research that Dr. Colom is doing, in part, is trying to find out if there are any environmental factors, either in toxins in the air or in the land or on the food that we eat, that account for some of this variance. In addition to Dr. Colom's describing some of the research that he's doing, we also had a presentation from a neurologist, Dr. Robert Lozano, who was explaining some of the medication that is being used now, the one that has been used, and what they expect the medication to do in the future. And finally, there was a presenter who talked about it. I'm sorry, I don't remember, I'm blanking on the name right now, but a presenter who talked about the difficulty of giving care for Alzheimer's patients and how the quality of care, and she made a wonderful point. She said, the more we care for the caregivers, the better quality of life the Alzheimer's patient will have. Of course, that's true. And so she reminded the audience of the importance of providing care not only for the patient, but also providing support for the caregivers. It was the very first community outreach lecture that we've had. There were members of the community there were students there, faculty there, and this one came out of the biology department. There have been others in other areas, but this one really was a first for them. We appreciate those of you who were able to be there last night. Mrs. Breedlove was there, Mrs. Cardenas joined us as well, and many others in the community, and it was really a wonderful launch to an important effort. We had a Steinway Series concert on campus this last week. It was on Saturday, the 27th of January, and the same people who participated in many of the other events that were going on campus, including the memorial for J. Phillips, also had to perform that night. And if you ever want, and there was also musicians on campus, they were having a competition as well. And they never missed a beat. They proceeded to do all of their work expertly. The concert featured Uciel Guzman, who's a native of Ciudad Victoria and who began his musical training at the age of 7. And he is a member of our faculty. The program was Chopin, and it was very lively, and apparently it was just a great hit. And we're very appreciative and very proud of the sine wave concerts as they continue. And finally, I want to simply ask us to spend a moment remembering the life of Terry J. Phillips. Terry, or Jay, as many people remember him, was celebrated with a service on campus. People said things much better than I could in many ways. He was very intelligent, he was modest, and he was a man with a presence larger than life. And Bill Davis said it so well. He says, you know, sometimes you talk about a big man because of his size. Well, there's other ways to be counted as a big man. Jay was both a big man in life and in character and the values that he possessed, as well as in size. I don't know what a greater gift we can give each other than working with people of this caliber. We sought Jay for wisdom and guidance, and we received both. Jay came to our campus in 1982 and later served as a department chair, dean of developmental and general education, interim associate vice president for academic affairs, and dean of the College of General Studies. He was appointed 3 times as interim dean of the College of Science, Math, and Technology, and was a former president of the Academic Senate. Jay was a physicist. I would often introduce him as a chemist, and he would look at me like, there's a big difference, lady, get it right. And he was a physicist of high caliber, and it was he that planted the seed, really, for much of what has occurred today. Jay also liked to sing, and he sang the alma mater, and he sang it with great pride a cappella, and we enjoyed his singing and his beautiful voice many, many times. I would ask that all of you would join me for just a moment and bow your heads for a moment of silence for our dear friend and colleague. Thank you very much. Jay was 53 years old. He is survived by his mother, Bertha, who we've all gotten to know. He and his sister, Nikki Phillips. He fought a very courageous battle with cancer. His only regret was that he didn't finish, he said, the work that still needed to be done at this university. He played with students. He was willing to do anything, whether it was at the top of the mountain at Rancho del Cielo or in the Spirit Club here with students. He wasn't too good, too elite, too important, or too smart to be with our students. And I guess that was probably the most amazing thing to me, was here was this brilliant fellow who cared for the developmental student as much as he cared for the brilliant physics student. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Garcia. I skipped Dr. Pearson's report on construction. So, Dr. Pearson, my apologies, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a word on Jay Phillips. His work continues through some of the programs that Dr. Garcia outlined. His work continues on this campus through some of the construction projects that Veronica Mendez outlined. And his work continues also in several projects I'm going to describe for you now. 4 projects on campus, as not only is there new construction, but there's also renovation that is turning our university into one of the best universities in the state of Texas. If I could play the video, we'll take you through some of the projects that are going on our campus now. The first of these is probably one of the most obvious to you if you've just driven around campus, the new pedestrian bridge. We've watched with great interest as the bridge has gone up over the past several weeks. It's being constructed by Jamal Construction, working with York Construction. The bridge connects the student housing area with the south lawn of Mary Cardenas South. The bridge is some 375 linear feet. As you can see, some of the beams are going over here to allow the bridge to open up sufficiently for small boats to pass underneath it. And as we're seeing here, a view from what it's like to be actually on the bridge. People, we assume, are going to be stopping, taking a look at the lovely campus that we're constructing. The next project is the Lightener Student Center. This is over near Tandy and the library. What we're doing is we're retrofitting the old Student Center for academic advising. We're going to be installing some 22 offices, a conference room, a workroom, and a reception area. The time scale of this project began in late October, and we expect the project to be finished by the end of the spring semester. This project is being done in-house by our own physical plant. The third is the Commandant's Quarters. It used to be one place, and all of a sudden now it's somewhere else. It's moved just on the order of about 100 yards. Work on this started toward the end of December. I remember Larry Loff and I stood there watching this take place. And as the building shook at one point, Larry said, "I guess it wasn't braced as well as I thought." The relocation's complete. Renovations will start under the supervision of Larry Loff. And ultimately, the plan is to turn this into administrative offices. You could see here some of the original site where there were foundations from original chimneys, which were not evident as the structure was sitting there, and a basement. And we all looked for gold and found none.
Did you find any David's old beer bottles?
The fourth and final project is the renovation of the second floor in Rustenburg Hall. And we're putting in there studio space, faculty space, workspace for our fine arts department. The work began in late December, and we expect the completion of this portion of the renovation to take place by the end of the spring semester. And as was with the case with the Lightener Student Center, this is being done by our own physical plant. Now, Mr. Chairman, there's one other item on the construction report that I'd like to bring out at this point, and this refers to what's called the 011 Overlay District Expansion, which is of considerable interest to our institution. The City of Brownsville has a series of overlay districts that govern the building construction, renovation, and demolition within their parameters. The purpose is to protect the general character, the general welfare of the community. The 011 Overlay District was specifically designed to maintain and preserve the historical aspects of structures within this district, and a Class L permit's required for the demolition or the construction or substantial renovation of buildings. All Class L permits are reviewed and approved by the Heritage Department of the City of Brownsville, and before the Heritage Department approves the permit, they afford the University of Texas at Brownsville, Texas Southmost College, the opportunity to make recommendations. You can see here on the first slide, this is the extent of the 011 Overlay District as of December 20th, 2006. Our campus, the portion of our campus was indicated by a circle. The red sections was a portion of this which was added as of that date in December. And if we move to the third slide, we can see that this is a portion of the overlay which abuts our campus to the north and east. This is along the south side of Jackson Street, where the Book Bee is. And what this means, once again, is that it'll be possible for us, for our institution, to have input into the character of construction that takes place adjacent to our campus. Mr. Peter Goodman and Mr. Joe Gavito from the Heritage Department are present this evening, in case there are any questions from the members of the board.
Here? Yeah, they both. Thank you for staying.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Dr. Pearson. Okay, proposed meeting for the Board of Trustees this weekend on Friday, or this week, actually tomorrow. Friday the 2nd and February and the 3rd, the board is having a board workshop. Then we have proposed meetings on the 1st of February, March 1, April 26th, May 31, and June 21st. We note that tomorrow's workshop will begin at 8:30, and it shall be,
Nine.
it will, at 9 o'clock?
Yes, sir.
Okay, 9 o'clock, and it'll be held at the Chachalaca in Los Fresnos. So do we have any other announcements other than that? No?
No,
So,
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to point out that it's amazing how there was an outpouring of love and affection for Jay Phillips and his family, and the staff and students and everybody here on campus. But I think that as difficult as it is for the family and for everyone that knew Jay, that the important point is that it just shows what kind of community we are. So I think it's a great community, and everybody pulled together during this difficult time. The other thing I wanted to point out is that on the Alzheimer's research, I think that it's important for everybody to understand that Alzheimer's is very common in this community and throughout the world. That it's not just trying to find the cure and understanding of how this disease afflicts a lot of people, particularly the Hispanic population, but also for the community to know that there are support groups, and also of trying to find out what drugs work best, what works, what doesn't work. And I see a great future for this institution becoming the leader in our community to bring everybody together to see and to listen to what's out there, and because it's a devastating disease, and it's not only for the patient, but also is devastating for the family. I see it, and I see it every day in my practice. You know, it's great. I congratulate the university for taking the lead in putting this symposium together.
Thank you, sir.
I have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.